India's former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh is no more. He died at AIIMS in Delhi at the age of 92. Dr. Manmohan Singh served 2 consecutive terms as the UPA Prime Minister from 2004 to 2014. His body was brought to his residence late on Thursday night from AIIMS and would be placed for the public to pay their last respects. According to reports, national mourning of 7 days has been declared for the Congress veteran, and all government programs scheduled today have also been cancelled. The Union Cabinet is expected. They were supposed to meet at 11 a.m. local time today. Dr. Singh's last rites will be conducted on Saturday with full state honours. AIIMS in a statement said that Dr. Manmohan Singh was being treated for age-related medical conditions and had sudden loss of consciousness at home on December 26th. He was brought to the medical emergency at AIIMS at 8:06 p.m. IST. Despite all efforts, he could not be revived and was declared dead at 9:51 p.m. IST. Condolences have poured in from all ends of the spectrum. Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid a tribute to the former Prime Minister and said that he rose from humble origins and made efforts to improve people's lives. He described him as one of India's most distinguished leaders whose legacy will endure in the nation's history.
मुझे याद है कि इस साल की शुरुआत में जब राज्यसभा में उनका कार्यकाल समाप्त हुआ, तब मैंने कहा था कि सांसद के रूप में डॉक्टर साहब की निष्ठा सभी के लिए प्रेरणा जैसी है। सत्र के समय अहम मौकों पर वो व्हीलचेयर पर बैठकर आते थे, अपना संसदीय दायित्व निभाते थे। एक नेक इंसान के रूप में, एक विद्वान अर्थशास्त्री के रूप में और रिफॉर्म्स के प्रति समर्पित लीडर के रूप में उन्हें हमेशा याद किया जाएगा। एक अर्थशास्त्री के रूप में उन्होंने अलग अलग स्तर पर भारत सरकार में अनेक सेवाएं दी। प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में देश के विकास में और प्रगति में उनके योगदान को हमेशा याद किया जाएगा। जनता के प्रति, देश के विकास के प्रति उनका जो कमिटमेंट था, उसे हमेशा बहुत सम्मान से देखा जाएगा।
Congress MP Rahul Gandhi said that he has lost his mentor and guide in former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. He further added that the former Prime Minister's humility and deep understanding of economics inspired the nation. Congress MP Priyanka Gandhi Vadra paid tributes to former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, saying, "Few people in politics inspire the kind of respect that Sardar Manmohan Singh ji did." The US has also put out a statement saying that the country mourns the loss of former Indian Prime Minister, a key architect of the US-India strategic partnership. He championed the landmark civil nuclear agreement and led economic reforms that transformed India. His legacy of strengthening US-India ties will be remembered. Dr. Manmohan Singh was the architect of India's economic liberalization in 1991 as the finance minister in the P.V. Narasimha Rao government. His role as finance minister is regarded as a turning point in India's economic history. He ushered in bold reforms which put India on its growth trajectory. He was also the governor of the Reserve Bank of India from 1982 to 1985, where he focused on economic stabilization and financial regulation. And for more on this, our correspondent Dharumjot Kaur has sent us this report.
We're here at the residence of late former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, where political dignitaries and leaders from across party lines are arriving to pay their tribute to the late ex-Prime Minister. Now, Dr. Singh was declared dead by the All India Institute of Medical Sciences late on Thursday night after he was admitted to the hospital due to health-related issues. Dr. Singh is survived by a wife and 3 daughters, 2 of which will also be arriving from the United States to attend their father's last rites. Now, the rites will be held on Saturday near Rajghat, as is customary for political dignitaries of Dr. Singh's stature. The Congress party headquarters will also keep the last mortal remains of Dr. Singh before his rites to allow the public and citizens to pay their homage to the great leader. Now, an outpouring of grief, condolences and tributes ever since the world was informed of the late Prime Minister's demise. Political leaders, not just from India, but all around the world, have been talking about how Dr. Singh has contributed to India's economy and the political infrastructure as well. Dr. Singh was India's Prime Minister for 2 straight terms between 2004 and 2014, a period that saw cascading reforms and schemes brought and implemented in India. Now, as I mentioned, the last rites will be held on Saturday. Today, Friday, has seen an outpouring of dignitaries. Even in this weather, it has been raining since 7 a.m. in the morning. A traffic advisory has been issued by the Delhi police. But despite that, dignitaries and political leaders from across party lines are coming to pay their homage. With video journalist Piyush, this is Dharamjot Kaur for WION World is One.
For more on this, we're now being joined by Aditi Phadnis from New Delhi. She's a journalist and contributing editor for Business Standard. Welcome to WION, Ms. Phadnis.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Phadnis, during his last press conference as the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh said that, and let me quote here, "I don't believe that I have been a weak Prime Minister. I believe that history will be kinder to me than contemporary media." As we look back at Dr. Singh's legacy today, what exactly stood out for you? What, according to you, were one of the hallmarks of Dr. Singh's Prime Ministership?
In his political career as minister, he had a political career before that also. But as minister, I think we can divide it into 3 straight phases. His tenure as finance minister, his tenure as prime minister in the first term of the UPA, and then in the second term of UPA. So as finance minister, of course, there's no doubt at all, some very, very fundamental economic reforms were put in place by him and his team, notably Commerce Minister P. Chidambaram at the time. Some of those decisions are continue to resonate and were used as a bedrock to continue further economic reform till today. Some of the things that he had done could not have been done. It was a crisis. I mean, India had pledged its gold. India was balance of payments position was dire, and it was a really difficult situation. And I cannot imagine anyone who could have handled it better than Manmohan Singh at the time. His first tenure as Prime Minister of a coalition government with Sonia Gandhi as the Congress president was extraordinary, because it was the first time a Sikh had become a Prime Minister, the first time there were 2 poles of power in the Congress, one as Prime Minister, one as head of the Congress party. And that period also saw a lot of pressures on him, but pressures that he fought back with elan and with complete, how shall I put it, with complete, with balance, without giving in on any of the crucial issues.
Right, Ms. Phadnis. He indeed was a man of few words, but a man who had depth in every word he said. He, like you also mentioned, he adorned many offices, from the RBI governor to the finance minister, and as the prime minister for 2 terms. What would you rank as one of his greatest achievements? We do know that the list is too long, but from the RTI Act to the economic liberalization or the historic US nuclear deal, what stood out for you?
RTI, I'm not sure if he would have thought of it himself, although he was a fundamental liberal. who did not believe in any kind of fetters on anyone. But I think the most important element was liberalization, shoring up India's finances at a time when India was in deep economic peril. By just applying levers and addressing issues which he understood extremely well as an economist. So I think I would rank that as the most important contribution to India. His second was presiding over India at a time when India was internally faced by many challenges. Remember that the attack on Mumbai took place in 2008 during his prime ministership, his first term, and it was a very challenging time. I'm just sorry that he had to make this point to the media that history will judge him more kindly than the media towards the end of his second tenure as prime minister, because then again there were a lot of things at work. 2013, the rise of the Aam Aadmi Party and the rise of the India Against Corruption movement and so on. He himself was personally incorruptible. I know this firsthand because I saw the way an industrialist from Haryana who came to see him during his first term as prime minister slipped a 100 rupee note or 500 rupee note in the hands of his driver, possibly as a token for future actions. And the driver returned that note in an envelope and said, could that person please talk to Dr. Manmohan Singh? This person then called Manmohan Singh, and Manmohan Singh said, kindly do not do this in future, and kindly do not come to my house ever again. So he stood against corruption in a way that few people can. But it was finally the perception of corruption. We know how the 2G scam, 2G spectrum allocation scam rolled out, what the Comptroller and Auditor General said in his report, and finally what the fact that both accused were acquitted by the court. So he was politically backed by Sonia Gandhi, but not a whole lot more. People who tried to manipulate the situation to power centers against each other to their own advantage. So ultimately, I feel that the Congress party itself, sometimes its worst enemy, did not stand up for him as strongly as it could have done. And you had a stellar human being as prime minister, who history, as he said, will judge more kindly than the media at the time.
Right, Ms. Fadnis, you've also met Dr. Singh a number of times. If you want to share with us any anecdote or any experience that has perhaps have had a profound impact on you.
Well, I think the most memorable anecdote is not out of the interviews that I did with him, but a short talk that I had with Mrs. Gursharan Kaur, his wife, soon after he became Prime Minister for the first time. At that time, the decision was announced in the Central Hall by Sonia Gandhi. We all rushed to the Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister designate's house. At that time, security was not as oppressive as it is today, and we could actually get access to. He was living on Safdarjung Road at that time. We could get access and walk straight into his house. There, I met Mrs. Gursharan Kaur. And among the questions that I asked him about Dr. Manmohan Singh's personality, one of them was, when you have a fight, who initiates the making up? And she just smiled and said, he does. To me, that exemplifies the man who had to reconcile so many contradictions, had to fight so many pressures, but ultimately he was the person who said politics is the art of the possible.
Right, Ms. Fadnis, thank you so much for joining us in WION and sharing your thoughts and your experiences with Dr. Manmohan Singh.